The astrology for this week, Monday, April 7th through Thursday, April 10th, is dynamic. We're processing so much right now with both Venus and Mercury retrograde. I feel like we're sort of making sense of the past, but there's more to it than that. And there's more to the astrology than just Venus and Mercury retrograde. So let's discuss the astrology of this week. This report is for everyone, for all signs, and let's just take it a piece at a time. So first, I would love to talk about Venus retrograde conjunct Saturn in Pisces, and we will sort of build from there. There is a lot else happening, and Venus and Saturn here are connected to other points in the chart, but we can build from here. It's a great place to start. The thing about Venus and Saturn is that they really work well together. Sometimes Saturn can have a bit of a bad reputation because usually wherever Saturn is traveling, we're doing a lot of work. But Saturn is a wonderful planet. It really provides practical support and helps us, especially in Pisces, to make some progress with something that's been sort of hard for us to make progress with. But here, conjunct Venus, it's sort of a different story this week. But the big idea that relationships need structure is important, and that's part of why Venus and Saturn work together well. So let me just explain that before I sort of get just a little bit before I get into the specifics of the astrology. Relationships need that grounding. They need, for example, for two people to meet, they need a time and a place to do so. And also structure needs relationships, because what is the point of the structure? What is the point of the will if not love, if not some higher purpose? So there's actually a really positive resonance between Saturn and Venus. So I like them coming together here. I feel like Venus retrograde meeting up with Saturn right at the very end of the retrograde cycle is really helping us to implement the Venus retrograde info. We're sort of taking what we've been working on, what we've been processing, what we've been thinking about, more seriously. Good morning, Jam. Good morning. It's wonderful to see you. I hope you have an amazing day too. It's nice to be here live so that I'm able to take questions or hear any thoughts any of you might have. Okay, so Venus meeting up with Saturn here, it's helping us to integrate that Venus retrograde info, and we're sort of taking it all seriously. I feel like Venus retrograde, it's important to remember that Venus retrograde sort of takes that Venus energy and turns it inward. So rather than understanding what we love through experiencing the outside world, we're learning about what we love, what we connect with, what we want through tapping in, going inward, through tapping in. So Venus retrograde helps us understand what we want within. And Pisces, it all happening in Pisces, makes it sort of dreamy. But Saturn is making it really realistic. So all of this together, I think we're really understanding the lessons of Venus retrograde right now, and that we're sort of figuring out where it's a dream and where it's real, and what we want and what other people want. We're really parsing out if there's a story that you've been working on about relationships, about past relationship patterns, about something that happened in the past that was really important to you. Also, themes around self-worth can come up here. This is a week where it's really being parsed out. You're realizing where your thinking was correct and where you were dreaming and where you were kidding yourself. And there's places in the story where you can let go of the pain And there's places in the story where you can forgive others. And there's other places in the story where you realize it was a mistake that you won't make again. It's like so many at the end of this week, and I didn't include Friday in the report because it needs to be a different report, Venus will turn direct. So Venus meeting up with this very practical Saturn, who is toward the end of Pisces here. Saturn is used to being in Pisces, and Saturn has gotten good at it. All this Pisces energy, and Venus loves to be in Pisces. It's like the dreams are getting sorted out. The dreams from the past, the dreams about the future, the fantasies about the future and about the past. There's a lot of processing happening this week. There really is. And I want to connect this to some other aspects as well, because there is more to the astrology than just this. But I always want to take it a piece at a time just to not let it get too confusing. But I think that it's also important to mention that Mars is trining these planets this week. Mars in Cancer here. Mars was retrograde in Cancer earlier in the year. And now it's forming this harmonious trine with these planets. So it's very watery. I feel like, this is sort of working with us emotionally. There is something quite tender about it, quite sensitive. As we're looking over, and that gels with everything I was just saying, right? As we're going over all of these thoughts and ideas from the past and the future, figuring out where we're being realistic, where we can let go of what happened, where we were deluding our thinking, where we were right, where others were wrong, forgiving them, forgiving us, just sort of working with our Venus retrograde story. And like I said, it could be also about self-worth, your relationship with yourself. As we're doing that, that makes sense that there would be an emotional tenderness, right? And so it forming this trine with Mars, that makes a lot of sense to me. Mars has been working through Cancer for months. Mars went into this house and sign early in the fall, like in October, I believe, and then was retrograde, and it's just been hanging out in Cancer for so long, which is not Mars's favorite place to be. But while this is sensitive, while this is tender, it's working well. And the emotions are working well. We're sort of able to sort something through. All these planets are doing sort of hard emotional work, but they're figuring out what you really want and value, and you're separating that truth from fantasy. In relationships, in your relationship to yourself, in your relationship with self-worth, any kinds of themes like that. And I think that Mars is further supporting learning and truly prioritizing what matters to build structure for the future and figure out how you want to go forward. It's a harmonious relationship between masculine and feminine sides of ourselves, between feeling and doing and processing and rationality. So speaking of rationality, let's add another piece to the puzzle here because I think it's really, really important. Sorry to have so many different things to say, but that's just the way the astrology is right now. And this one looks really funny on our chart. But I have to mention, I'll add an arrow. Maybe that will help to make it a little bit more clear. I don't love those colors, but we'll stick with it. Mercury goes direct today, the day that I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Monday morning, the 7th. And today, Mercury stations direct. So that's really bringing in a reflective component here, how much we're really reflecting. And there are some ways, I did a video yesterday about questions that you can sort of ask yourself at this time to help reflect on the Mercury retrograde cycle. So I will include that at the end of the video here. I think it's also important to mention that Neptune is newly in Aries. This is kind of giving us, it's like whatever we really care about, we're almost ready to take it on, like on a spiritual level now. You know, we are we are processing so much right now. We're processing so much from the past in order to move forward into a new era as intentionally as possible. We're trying to show up authentically and in a positive way that benefits others and ourselves and our closest loved ones. And I think that this week is, it's like there's so much happening. It's so sensitive, but somehow those stories of the past getting a little bit more clarity, a little bit more grounding is what's really going to allow us to move into the future. So I will also attach a video about Neptune newly in Aries because it is a bit difficult to talk about. And I did a video last week explaining why, and I'll also put that Mercury reflection video at the end. I have horoscopes on my channel. If you're interested in looking it up by your sign, I see a comment here from T Rope. Why don't you check out your horoscope on my channel? You might enjoy that if you enjoyed this video. Best read for your rising sign, or viewed rather, sorry, for your rising sign if you know your rising sign. And just thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a great week. It is an interesting one. It's a deep one, but somehow it's very practical as well. It's helping us to build for the future. Which is changing. We're at a real shifting moment, I feel. So also we're still in that eclipse energy. So it's busy and active. So thank you so much for being here. I'll be back again soon. Have a great day.